Okay, so we're going to take a look at another if-else statement. And what I would suggest is that before you watch this video, if you've done the first tutorial correctly, which you should have done, you should be doing this in the order in which they appear, have a go at doing this by yourself. Don't listen to me. You should be able to have a fairly good understanding of how the if-else statement works, having used it and having looked at the presentation. So have a go at doing this yourself. If you get stuck, then watch the video, okay? But it makes sense to try and do as much of this as possible by yourself, because that way you will understand it a lot better than if you simply watch me type in and copy it without any real sort of grasping of what's going on. So with that in mind, let's go into idle, and I'm going to open up a new file and I'm going to save it with the file name buying recommendation, spelling of recommendation, 2 M's in the middle. So I'm going to save that, and if we look at the scenario, the program is going to ask the user for the price of a pair of pants, jeans, whatever. If the price typed in is over 50, the program will output the pants are too expensive. Otherwise, it's going to output the pants are affordable. Okay, so nice and straightforward. It says to use good programming style, and so by that you might have seen the page in Python 3 slides, which talks about good presentation style, making sure that you include comments in your code and that your variable names are descriptive of what type of value they're holding. Okay, so we already know that we're asking the user for something, so we know that we have to use the input statement. So let's go back and let's just add in buying recommendation program, and let's put in a new one. Let's put in author name, which is obviously your name, and we'll leave it at that for now. Okay, so first things first, we're going to create a variable to hold the price of the pants. So we're just going to use pants price, capital P, just to differentiate it from the first word, equals. I'm going to type in the input statement, and I'm going to type in the string, enter price of the pants, and let's put a colon, a space. Space is important, or else when you run the program, there will be no space separating your input from the output. So close your quotation marks, close your parameters. And if you remember back to what I said in the last lab, when you use the input statement, it's going to return a string. What we're asking for here is a price, and we need to use that price in the if statement. So it has to be saved as a price, as a number, in other words. And so what I'm going to do is convert this, and I'm going to convert it into a float data type. So I've typed in the word float. I could have done it as a whole number, so I could have typed in int, but obviously, typically, the price of things is, in floats, in decimal numbers, so 49.99, that type of thing. Apparently, it makes it look cheaper. Okay, so I've put in float, and what I'm going to do is surround the input keyword and the string with this second set of parameters. And so this conversion is taking place in this statement. So when this returns a string, it's automatically going to be changed to a decimal number. Okay, and in fact, let's just put a note to state that. So float conversion from default string return of input statement. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, well, hopefully it does make sense. Okay, so you use the input statement, you get a string back automatically. What we're doing here is, because we want a number and not text, we're converting it into a decimal number using the float data type. Okay, so let's continue, and next we're going to use the if-else statement to see if the pants are over or under $50. So So we're going to go down and we're going to type in if, remember lowercase, and we're going to say if the pants price, and we were asking are they over 50. So we could do this one of two ways. We could say are they less than 50 or are they more than 50 or less than equal to 50. It doesn't really matter, but probably the simplest way is to say are they greater, so use the more than sign, and let's get rid of that, and are they greater than 50, so 50 dot. And remember, colon comes at the end, followed by enter, followed by the code you want to execute if that is true. So we're going to print out these pants are too expensive. Okay, we don't want an indentation before the else statement, so I'm going to remove this indentation by pressing backspace. I'm going to type in else, and remember, you don't need to put any condition after the else statement. I'm going to press enter. We need to keep this because this is a conditional statement. And I'm going to output, I can't remember what my output message was, not anything very profound. So we're going to say the pants are affordable. Okay. And so let's run this. And let's test it out. And really, when you test your programs, you should be testing it with three different types of data. Valid data, which is data which should be accepted, erroneous data, and extreme data. And so I'm going to put in a minus number. And obviously it comes back whether pants are affordable. Well, obviously they are, they're free. And so if we were to set up this program properly, we would have some sort of validation in here to make sure that, for example, you can only put in values from 1 to 1,000 or something like that. We're not doing that. We'll leave that for another day. So let's put in, let's put in 78. And you can put it in whole numbers or in decimal. It doesn't matter because it's going to be converted into a float anyway. Too expensive. Well, that's too bad. Let's run it again and let's check it with 49, which is an example of boundary data or extreme data. Pants are affordable, and I'm just going to test it on the other side of the boundary. I'm going to test it with 50, and it's telling me that these are affordable. And that's fine, because if you remember, it said anything over 50. If we had said over or equal to 50, then obviously that would not be acceptable. Let us go back and test it once more. And we will test it, not in the shell, where am I going? We will test it with 51, which is obviously something which should be not affordable. Yes, it's too expensive. Okay, so go ahead, make sure it's working, test it out, and then save and upload. Going to save it again. Okay.